So last night I was at a conference and I ran into some of my friends and told them I was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and they were like, well, is your life over now? Said no. So, like the other recipients, I'm humbled by this honor, in part because Baldwin has meant and does mean so very much to me, and in part because women with whom I attended the Baldwin School nominated me. I would also like to thank the Development Office and the Alumni Association. I have labored in universities for most of my adult life, and I am aware of how very many hours of how many people's lives make these awards possible. I accept on behalf of the class of 1976. In 13 years at the Baldwin School, we competed, laughed, kept each other's secrets, and cared for each other. I don't mean to idealize us. Sometimes we weren't very nice. Reflecting on such moments has also been part of the journey, and as Hillary Rodham Clinton could tell you, being nice isn't always the most important thing. For better or worse, as I said 2 weeks ago when I married Nancy Barnes, my partner of 30 years, I am bound to the bicentennial class forever. An award is also a moment to reflect on what it means to have a good life and on how you get there. Here's what I know about that. It's trial and error, trial and error. To quote playwright Samuel Beckett, ever tried, ever failed, no matter. Try again, fail again, fail better. For over 30 years, as a historian, teacher, and writer, I have tried to fail better. For the last decade, I have failed better in a field called digital humanities, otherwise known as DH. If you've never met one, DH scholars are humanities PhDs who can't stop playing with their computers and phones. We do project-based work that makes humanities research, narrative arguments, data, and metadata visible on the internet. Our job is to create open access to knowledge. Our job is to teach everybody. Currently, I work with 6 undergraduates in the Digital Humanities Initiative Lab I founded at the New School last year in New York City. One of our programs is called Digital Across the Curriculum, in which we teach the use of computerized research and social media as 21st century literacies. In other words, we believe that all of the literacies that are critical to citizenship, critical, ethical, and logical thinking, writing, numeracy, science, visual thinking, research, and argumentation, must now grapple with the reality and the potential of digital communication. At the DHI, we help students translate traditional humanities assignments into digital projects. We help faculty imagine born digital pedagogy, as well as how to use whatever fresh hell of a course management system has been delivered that year by the administration. We run 2 LGBT history sites, outhistory.org and the United States of AIDS. This year, the Provost's Office commissioned us to create a platform called the Collaboratory, where faculty and students at the New School can create exhibits from their community-based social justice research projects. And we are preparing to launch a new site that will support a book series containing the complete works of the first African-American novelist, Charles Chesnutt. Next year, funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities, 2 students and I will recreate the Women's House of Detention in Greenwich Village. This is going to be awesome. As a digital game. People who play the game, maybe come and test it here. People who play the game learn about radical social activism through virtual interactions with former political prisoners like Emma Goldman, Dorothy Day, Ethel Rosenberg, Andrea Dworkin, and Angela Davis, as well as the ordinary working class women who were routinely incarcerated at the House of D between 1932 and 1971. Doing DH requires imagination, and thus it requires the courage to fail. It combines a humanities sensibility with standards of investigation, collaboration, and accountability that are far more common to science. This is why we call our spaces labs, and like labs, an ethic of investigation puts students on an equal intellectual footing with their teachers. I often describe myself as the shepherd rather than the teacher. As my students put their projects together, they learned presentation and research skills, budgeting, project design, and grant management. Our work is punctuated by the question, what is the problem and how do we solve it? When something goes awry, it isn't a calamity. It's an opportunity to learn more about how to do it right. Fail better. Baldwin was where I learned to fail better. In September 1963, my parents enrolled me in kindergarten at the Baldwin School. For the first few weeks of school, I was under the impression that our teacher was in the British Army because she was both very, very scary and because she had white hair that appeared to be fixed in place like the redcoats I had seen in a Disney movie about the American Revolution. First grade, it was said, was a piece of cake once you had made it through this woman's kindergarten. I now realize that this teacher had only two important jobs: to make us into readers and to teach a group of uncivilized tots how to go to school. The reason first grade seemed easy was that kindergarten was an endless stream of confusing new tasks at which one inevitably failed. Learning to cope with that made grades 1 through 12 and everything beyond it possible. Fail better. Identifying what had gone wrong, teaching us how to scrutinize our work, and inspiring us to fail better was the pedagogy practiced by our best teachers at Baldwin. Lois Goutman taught us to inhabit a character with confidence and work with others to make a play happen. Believe it or not, that's not so different from working in a university. All my different hats, scholar, committee member, department chair, teacher, consultant, these are all different characters that have to be performed differently. In weekly meetings, our English teachers at Baldwin went over our essays line by line, showing us how to identify what was wrong with them and rewrite them ourselves. My history teachers, Martha Hammer and Liz Shaw, the first two women I ever met who called themselves feminists, by the way, taught me the difference between spitting back other people's ideas and having the courage to formulate, however imperfectly, my own ideas. Biology lab reports written for Joan Levan and geometry proofs for Priscilla Swan taught me how to narrate and visualize scientific arguments. My coach, Margot Cunningham, taught me how to learn from a loss as well as a win and commit myself to success in the next game. Although I always struggled with math, Baldwin teachers firmly sent me back to my mangled equations to do them over. Doris Ballant, my third grade teacher, and Carol Dahl, who suffered through 2 years of my scrambled lab reports in chemistry, demanded that we examine what went wrong and do it over again until it was right. Fail better. Every day I find myself drawing on not what I learned, but how I learned here at Baldwin. So to you, the young women of today's Baldwin School, I say, Lifetime Achievement Awards, like Digital Humanities Project, are not the work of an individual. They are the work of teams, of commitment to others, and of a lifetime of gifts from your teachers and comrades. Gifts that you may not recognize as you are receiving them, but you will find years later in your own classrooms and workplaces. To you, I say, waste no time after this assembly to get back to your class, back to your team, back to your play, back to your club, and say, fail better. Let me know how it goes. Thank you.